Right. So in the last session, what we discussed, we have discussed about alerts and frames and how to handle them. So for alerts and frames, first we need to switch to the alerts if you are using alerts, and then we have to perform any action on the alerts. Similarly, frames, first we need to switch to the frame. So frame is something where inside a frame we have a different HTML document again. So if you want to handle the elements inside a frame, first we need to switch to the frame using the index, name or ID, or else the web element of the frame, and then you can perform any operations on the frame events. If you want to come to the main HTML document, you have to use the default content, driver.switch to the default content. Okay, these things we have discussed. Today we are going to discuss about a new concept called synchronization. Okay, so first of all, what is a synchronization? What is sync? Okay, so the script that we are writing, right, and then the operations that we are performing on the application, both should be in sync. Let's say you have written a code of element where you want to click on some element. Let's say the element is not visible immediately. Okay, so script is executing faster, but the element is not loaded within time. Okay, in that case, you cannot find the element, you get a no such element exception. Okay, so a script and then what the elements which are present on the web page, both should be in sync. Then only we can perform the operations. Okay, to handle these synchronization issues, there are different techniques that we have to handle synchronization issues. Okay, so those techniques are called waits. Okay, we have different wait commands are available where we can use different wait commands to work with these synchronization issues. Our script and then web elements which are loading, both should be in sync. Then we can perform the action successfully without any issues. Okay, so what are the different waits that are available as part of synchronization? We have three types of waits. One is page load timeout. Okay, page load timeout. This is a wait. Okay, and also we have implicit wait and also we have an explicit wait. Total three types of waits. Again, when it comes to explicit wait, again we have two different types of waits are available. One is the WebDriver wait and one is a fluent wait. These two comes under explicit wait. Okay, mainly three types of wait commands. One is the page load timeout, and one is implicit wait, and another one is explicit wait. Okay, so these things we have to discuss as part of synchronization. So page load timeouts is for the page loading time, and the remaining two wait for web elements. Okay, implicit and explicit waits are both for the web elements that we use, the synchronization technique, and the page load timeout technique that we use for page load. Okay, so we will see. First, I will give a issue, right? So, and then we will see. Normally, if I try to open any website, let's say I'm opening some website, it will load sometime, it will take some time to load. Okay, so in your script, if you're trying to load some web page, now it is loading within 2 or 3 seconds, that is well and good. But what if it is taking 3 minutes? What if it is taking 10 minutes to load? Okay, we should not wait for 10 minutes, right? There should be some time where that within that particular specified time, the application should load. So we can ask developers, what is the maximum time that we can wait for a page to load? Let's say our application should load within 20 seconds only. Developer said like application should load within 20 seconds. Beyond that, that is a performance issue. Okay, when you ask the developer, he is saying that within 20 seconds it is load, but your application is taking 30 seconds or 1 minute. In that case, what is the maximum page load time? What is the maximum page load time that we have? The time maximum page load time is 20 seconds. That is given by the developer. It should not load within after 20 seconds. It should not take 30 seconds. It should not take 1 minute also. So what is the maximum time that we want to wait in our script? We want to wait for only 20 seconds. If the application is not loading within 20 seconds of time, then that is an issue that we need to report to the developer. So what is the maximum page load here time? What is the maximum time for page load? 20 seconds. Okay, that 20 seconds we need to provide inside our script so that within the 20 seconds it is working, the application is loading, we will not get any exception. But beyond the 20 seconds, if the application is not loading, we'll get an exception. Page load timeout issue we get. Then we have to report to the developer. So page load time is something. What is the maximum time that you want to wait for any page to load based on your project, based on your application? Okay. So we don't have any application which is taking more time to load. Okay, so that is the reason we will see with the normal application only. Okay. So now what is page load timeout? We have seen about page load time. Okay, the maximum time that we want to provide for a page to load. So page load timeout is something where we put some time. Here 20 seconds we put inside the command page load timeout. So we want to wait for 20 seconds. Within the 20 seconds it is opening. Okay, we are going to skip the remaining seconds because the page is already opened. Let's say we are given the maximum page load timeout is 20 seconds. The page that the application is loaded within 5 seconds. The remaining 15 seconds you no need to wait. Okay, so then we can perform any action on the application once it is loaded. If it is not opening within 20 seconds, then we throw an exception, the page load timeout exception. Okay. So what is page load timeout? If the page is not loaded within the specified time, we get a timeout exception. The maximum time that we have to provide in the page load timeout till we want to wait. That we can get from the developers. What is the maximum that we want to wait? So this gives us the performance issue if the application has a performance issue. If the application is loading within 1 minute, that is a performance issue because our application should open within 20 seconds. That we need to report to the developer as an issue. Okay. So now, when we're talking about page load timeout, so where you need to provide this page load timeout when you're writing the script. Okay. So for that, let me create a package. First, we discuss about the page load timeout. Then we discuss about implicit and explicit wait. Let me create a package. Let me name it as synchronization. Inside, I'm going to create as page load timeout. Page load timeout. In the page load timeout, so you have to provide by the name itself the maximum time we have to provide. So where we get the timeout exception, where we want to wait for certain amount of time, the maximum time that you want to wait for a page load. You no need to wait for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, because that will be again the script issue will become. If you're trying to wait for 10 minutes, okay, our script duration, execution time will increase. You should not provide. You should provide only the maximum time within the specified time our application should load. Okay. So let me open the same website. I'm using the same code. So now what exactly happened is, so now we are trying to open the application, right? So let me give a page load timeout here. So maximum time that your application takes to load. If it is loading within 2 seconds, that is fine. If it is loading within 5 seconds, that is fine. But the maximum time that you want to wait for a page to load, that you need to provide. So my application, the maximum page load timeout is 1 minute. 1 minute or 30 seconds. Let's say 30 seconds. Within 30 seconds only our application should load. If it is taking beyond 30 seconds, that is a issue, performance issue. So the maximum time that you want to give it here under the page load timeout. Page should time out. Okay, then after 30 seconds. Okay, so that you have to provide. Once you create an application, once you created the driver instance, then you can provide. Okay, before opening the application only, you have to provide the page load timeout. So it will applicate throughout the driver session. Once you created the Chrome driver object, then you have to provide that. Okay, so if it is provided, then it is applicable for here also. Okay, when you're opening any website or something like that. So here we have to provide driver dot. This is the command that we need to use to give the page load timeout. Driver dot manage dot timeouts dot right page load timeout. Page load timeout. This is the command that we need to use. So inside the page load timeout, okay, we need to provide the duration. So how to provide the duration? You have to write duration. How much time you want to wait, that we need to provide. Duration dot of seconds you need to provide. Okay, it gives the seconds. How many seconds that you want to wait? 30 seconds. This is the maximum time our application should load. Okay, this is the command that we need to use. So what will happen? We are creating a Chrome driver object. We are setting the page load timeout for 30 seconds. So this application, if it is not loading within the 5 seconds or 30 seconds, maximum time that we wait is 30 seconds. Okay. So if the this application is loading perfectly within 30 seconds, that is well and good. If it is not loading within 30 seconds, then we get a timeout exception. Okay. Now let me run this. We are opening the application. It is loaded within 30 seconds only. Within 5 seconds, within 4 seconds, it is loaded. Okay. Now we don't have any exception. I'll print some statement here. Execution done. Okay, let me run this again. On around 3 to 4 seconds, the application is getting loaded. Okay, so we are not waiting till here. So execution done is completed. So what page load timeout will do is, if the application, this application is loaded within the specified time, within 5 seconds, then we are skipping the remaining time. We are not waiting. But if you put thread.sleep for 30 seconds, we will definitely wait for 30 seconds. It doesn't matter whether the page is loaded or not. That is the reason we should not use thread.sleep. That is not a recommended one. So if you want to check for the page load, you have to provide the maximum time that you want to load. If it is loading within 5 seconds, we are skipping the remaining 25 seconds, and immediately we are going for the next step. Okay. So what we are doing? So we are creating the Chrome driver object. We are maximizing the window. When we are trying to load the application, we are waiting for 30 seconds. So this, even the statement right here, that is applicable here. Okay. This timeouts, page load timeout will applicable whenever you're trying to open the application. So then it will applicable whenever you're trying to load the application. It will wait. Yes. It will try to open new window in the sense whenever there is a load here. So that should have again these controls loading part. Yeah. So open another window doesn't take much time. Let's say if it is taking time, it will wait. Yes, but the control should you have to switch. First, you need to immediately take the ID and switch and wait. That is fine. Okay, wait for particular page to load. Okay, so it is applicable for any page. Okay, so this it is taking within 5 seconds. Remaining 25 seconds we are skipping, and then execution is done immediately. Okay, here we are taking within 5 seconds. It is loading. Remaining 25 seconds applicable here also. For every page load, it is applicable, and then we are skipping the remaining 25 seconds, and the execution is done. Okay, so this is a positive flow where we are able to open within 5 seconds. What if we not able to open within 30 seconds? What will happen if the application is not able to open within 30 seconds? Then we got a timeout exception. What we get? We get a timeout exception. So now the application is loading within like 4 seconds, something like that, right? I cannot, even if I put 30, every time it will be executed successfully only. Now I will reduce this page load timeout to 1 second. Okay, the application is not loading within 1 second. To show you the negative scenario, that way I reduce the time. Normally we won't do it. Okay, so if I put 1 as the page load timeout, it is not loading within 1 second. What will happen if the page load timeout, whatever the maximum that we give, inside within the maximum time the application is not loaded, then we get a timeout exception. That's what I want to show it now. So let me run this and see. Obviously the application is not loading within 1 second. It is taking at least 4 seconds, 3 to 4 seconds. Obviously expanded, and we're trying to open. We didn't open the application at all. 1 second is completed. Okay, we got an exception here. This particular file, page load timeout underscore example. In this file, at the 18th line, we got an exception. Click on that. Here, when I am trying to open the application, I got an exception. What exception I got? Go up. You will see the exception. Timeout exception. The maximum time that you want to wait, that is completed. Okay, the application is not loaded within the maximum time. That is an issue. We have to report to the developer. Now let me increase a bit. Okay. Normally, the page load timeout we give is within seconds only, 30 seconds, 1 minute, or max 1.5 minutes. That like that you give. Here also, it's not open. Again, we get the timeout exception. In this way, we can know what is the time, average time that is loading also, if you want to know. I'm giving 4 seconds. Still, I got the exception. The complete page load is not happening. Let me give 5 seconds. We got exception. Let me give 6. I think it will work now. Okay. It is taking 6 seconds to load, but we will not give 6 or 5 like that. We'll give the maximum time that application takes. Sometimes it get load 30 seconds also. So we have to ask the developer, they will provide, or else if you're using existing framework that is already there, page load timeout, they will already provide. Then you can go ahead and check the page load timeout, what they have given. So our application, we have to wait for the application maximum time of page loading. If it is loading within the time, the remaining time we'll skip. If it is not loading, we have to wait for the maximum time, whatever you provided. And if it is not loading within the maximum time also, then we get a timeout exception. Then that is a performance issue of the application. Clear? Any questions?
No, sir. Clear.
Clear, sir.
Clear, right? So this I have reduced because I want to show you the error. That's the reason I have reduced it. So normally we give around 45 seconds or 60 seconds like this, the page load timeout. You should want to wait. Let me remove this command. Let's say, let me uncomment this. Okay, let me run this. We get an exception or not? If I run this, I did remove this complete page load timeout. I commented out. This won't execute. I haven't given page load timeout at all. So now what will happen? It will execute. Why it will execute, we will see. If you don't provide, okay, let me close this. Execution is done. Execution done. Okay. If you don't provide page load timeout also, that is fine, because by default 300 seconds it will wait. Okay, by default the page load timeout will be there for 300 seconds if you don't provide page load timeout also. So that is the reason we don't see any issues. But 5 minutes we will not wait. So that we need to override. That we need to give our own page load timeout. 5 minutes is very huge time to wait for a page to appear. That is a performance issue. If you don't provide also, it will keep on waiting for 5 seconds. It will increase the execution time also. That we don't want to do it. So that is the reason we have to ask the developer, what is the time, maximum time our application we should load? Okay, that we need to ask, that we need to put it here as under the page load timeout. If the developer says within 1 minute our application should load, the maximum time it should take. It should not load after 60 seconds. Then we have to provide like this so that we get an exception, so that we can report to the developer the issue. If you wait for 5 minutes, that is not the correct way. That is the reason we can overload the timeout, the default time, which is of 300 seconds. I can put a comment. Default page load timeout, page load time. Page load timeout is 300 seconds. That I have overridden and given my own 60 seconds only. Okay, if you put that statement. If you don't put the statement, it will wait till 300 seconds if the application is not loading. Then it throw in a timeout exception. Okay. Hope everyone clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Now we have discussed about the page load timeout. The next one is implicit wait. Okay. So what is implicit wait? Implicit wait also a time where if you want to wait for certain elements to appear. Okay. Implicit elements, wait for elements to appear in the page. Okay. Sometimes you might feel like some elements are not immediately present, but the code it will try to check immediately. The execution will happen fastly only, but the page is not in sync with the code. Okay, execution one by one, you try to execute fastly. But when we are trying to find certain element, but the element is not found within the specified time. Okay, then both are not in sync. Then we get again some no such element exception where element is not found. Okay, implicit wait helps us to wait for an element to appear. Okay, so where we wait for certain amount of time and then we perform the action on that particular element. Okay, so when we are discussing about the tooltip, if you remember, when you put my mouse on that particular button, immediately that particular element is not visible. Then I'm getting a no such element exception. Then what I gave some thread dot sleep where I want that particular application to load. Execution is going fastly. It is trying to find the element. It is not able to find, getting no such element exception. But it's not the case. When we're trying to execute certain statement, I want to wait for the element also appear. Then both should be in sync. Then I can perform some action on the element. Same tooltip example that I'll give, and I will show you the timeout exception. I mean, implicit wait exception. I mean, implicit wait scenario. Okay. So let me close this. Let me create a new class. I'll name it as implicit wait example. Implicit wait example. Okay, fine. Implicit wait. Where we are using tooltips in the actions, right? The same code I'm going to copy here. Okay, so previously when I'm trying to wait for an element, I'm waiting for 1 second. At least 1 second I'm waiting, because in the tooltip what exactly happening, I'm opening the website and I'm showing the example again. Okay. I'm trying to move my mouse here. The element which is getting, you hovered over the button, that is a new element. It is taking time to load, at least 1 second time to appear in the HTML code, the DOM structure. Previously it was not there. This element, you hovered over the button, element is not present. If I inspect on that element, if I come back, come down here. Okay. If I put my mouse on this button, then only there is a new element is getting loaded below script. If you see below script here, under the script, there is getting a new element is getting added. When I put my mouse on this particular button, there is a div element is getting added under the script. If you remember, I remove the mouse, that is gone. If I put my mouse, that is a new element which showing the text you hovered over the button. That is a new element. So it is taking at least some fraction of seconds, some 500 milliseconds to 1 second. Not immediately, within 0 seconds is not happening. It is taking some time and it is loading. Okay, so I got an exception when I'm trying to do that. If I don't provide thread.sleep, I got an exception saying that no such element exception. Because when I put my mouse on the hover me to see button, immediately I'm looking for that particular element. That is not present immediately within 0 seconds. Now I'm giving thread.sleep to overcome that. But thread.sleep is not good approach. Let's say here it is loaded within 1 second, that is well and good. Let's say the element will take at least 5 seconds to appear or 10 seconds to appear. Then I cannot give thread.sleep, because if the particular element is loading within 10 seconds, if I put thread.sleep of 10 seconds, it will wait for 10 seconds for sure. If the element is found within 5 seconds also, it will wait for 10 seconds. Let's say if I give thread.sleep 30 seconds, if the element is found within 10 seconds, still it is going to wait for 20 seconds more. That is not a good approach. That we call it as hard wait. Thread.sleep is a hard wait. It doesn't look whether the element is present or not. It is blindly wait for certain amount of time. We should not do that. So in that case, we have to wait. Implicit wait we can provide. If you provide implicit wait, what will happen? Even though you give it 30 seconds as implicit wait time, if the element is loading within 5 seconds, we are skipping the remaining 25 seconds. We are saving that execution time there. Clear? Any questions as of now, the concept wise? Let's say the same element, the div element, it is taking 10 seconds to load. Okay, Sometimes it is taking 10 seconds to load. Sometimes it is taking 20 seconds to load. Sometimes it is loading within 5 seconds. So the maximum time you observed is, let's say 20 seconds. What you gave thread.sleep 20 seconds. Now it is loading the div element which is loading within 5 seconds only. It is appearing within 5 seconds. If you give thread.sleep of 20 seconds, then you have to wait for 20 seconds, okay, or 15 seconds more. Okay, within 5 seconds it is appearing, 15 seconds you have to wait. That is not a good approach. In that case, you have to give implicit wait of 20 seconds, the maximum time that you give for the element to load. If it is loading within 2 seconds also, we are skipping the remaining seconds. If it is loading 5, 10, remaining whatever the time that is left, that is we are skipping. We are not waiting for that element. So these are intelligent waits where we can use for our automation purpose. Thread.sleep, very rare case we have to use, but 99% we try to avoid thread.sleep. Okay. Now we will check this scenario. Let me remove this thread.sleep first and see. Once we move mouse over this particular button, tooltip button, immediately I'm looking for that new added element. So what will happen? We will see. First, we'll get an issue. Okay, immediately that element is loaded, obviously. Let me open the. So we got an exception at the 27th line. Okay, 27th line here. After hovering the mouse on the button, I'm trying to wait for identify a new element, driver.find element. I'm trying to find a new element that is not present immediately. So that I got a no such element exception. No such element exception with the CS with the ID that you have provided, IDS button tooltip. Okay, it will take as a CSS selector only. That's the reason it is showing as hash button tooltip. Even to provide as a by.id, it will consider as a CSS selector internally. So that is the reason it's showing as button tooltip. Okay, so it's not able to find within the specified time because it will not. So this is complete execution. Immediately we went for this execution and trying to find an element within 0 seconds. Okay, at least sometime we need to wait. Instead of thread.sleep, what we can do now, I want to provide implicit wait. Okay, implicit wait I need to provide again the same how where I have to provide the page load timeout, right? Similarly, there only I need to provide the implicit wait also after creation of the Chrome driver, right? So there here I need to provide. So this will applicable for the implicit wait that I'm giving here. That will applicable for all the find element statements. For every find element statement is applicable throughout the execution, complete browser session. So how to give implicit wait? So driver dot manage dot timeouts dot implicitly wait. Okay, so implicitly wait I can give in two ways. So one is the directly duration. So this is one way that I can give duration dot of seconds. How many seconds that you want to wait for the element? I want to wait for 20 seconds because the maximum time that is the time my element should load. Okay, the average time or maximum time that we can give. If it is loading within 1 second, we are skipping the remaining 19 seconds. Okay. So let us run this now. We should not get any error because we already removed the thread.sleep also. Here we are waiting for hard wait. After hovering the mouse, we are hard waiting for 1 second and we try to find the element. Now we are not using hard wait, we are using implicit wait. Let me run this now. Okay. Execution is completed successfully without any issue. Okay. Just a second, guys. Get text time I am not getting. Let me run this again. Okay. Okay. I got the text also. So it is loading within 1 second. Immediately I got the text because I'm skipping the remaining 90 seconds. But if I give thread.sleep, it will wait, definitely wait for 20 seconds. You have to wait 20 seconds and then only it will try to identify the element. Okay. So this implicitly wait statement is applicable for all the driver statements, all the find element statements, not only one statement. Wherever you have this find element, so there it will, sorry, it is applicable. Okay. So here also it will wait for this element. Here also it is wait for this particular element. If it is loading within 5 seconds, we are skipping remaining 15 seconds here. Let's say if it is waiting for it in 1 second, I'm skipping the remaining 90 seconds here. Like this, we are able to execute. Okay, so what is the default time of implicit wait? Default time is 0 seconds. It will not wait. If you don't provide implicit wait, it will not wait for element. Immediately it will try to check for element. If it is not present, it will throw a no such element exception. Okay, then we have to provide some implicit wait for sure. Okay. Any questions as of now? Okay, so this duration of seconds you can give in seconds or milliseconds, anything is fine. Okay, even you can provide in milliseconds also. Duration dot of in millis you can give, in minutes you can give, in seconds you can give, right? You can give in any way. Okay, normally I'm giving in seconds because you can give milliseconds also. I can give seconds also, 20 seconds. So you can write this statement in another way. Okay, so driver dot manage dot timeouts dot. We have one more method called implicitly wait. One more method is there. So where I want to give 20, here I need to provide time unit dot seconds. So same way. So this also works same. Wait for 20 seconds. This also works for wait for 20 seconds only. But this is showing as cross because this is deprecated. Deprecated is something but in later in ongoing versions. Currently it is available. In ongoing versions, they are not suggesting us to use this. Okay, they are suggesting us to use this statement. Okay, if you click cross marks, which is nothing but deprecated, which is nothing but in later point of time they will going to remove it. Okay, from Selenium. Previously we used to do this, but now we have to do like this. Duration of seconds 20, the maximum time that you want to wait. The default time I told it's at 0 because immediately we are trying to find element within 1 second. Also we're not waiting, and we get a notice as element exception here. Clear about implicit wait? Any questions?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Okay. So implicit wait where you need to provide once we created the driver instance, and then that is applicable for all the find element statements throughout the session. Okay. Where we want to check for the maximum time for the element to appear. If it is loading within the specified time, that is well and good. We are going to skip the remaining time and we move forward to the next statement. Okay. So here also the time is applicable. Here also the time is applicable whenever trying to find the element. That's about the implicit wait. So it is applicable for all the elements in a particular browser session, right? If the element is not loaded within the specified time, we get no such element exception. Previously, if the page is not loaded within specified time, we get a timeout exception. If the element is not loaded within specified time, here we get a no such element exception when you're using implicit wait. Hope you are clear, right? The next one is explicit wait. Okay. So when we talk about explicit wait, again, there are two types of explicit wait are available. One is a WebDriver wait and another is a fluent wait. Okay, technically both works as the same, but the syntax will change. The way the you write is a change. Okay, but the syntax is different, but the technically both works as same only because both are explicit waits. Okay, so I think implicit wait is extending the fluent wait. Fluent wait is the parent class. Sorry, WebDriver wait. Sorry, not implicit wait. Forget about what I said. So when it comes to explicit wait, there are two types of waits: WebDriver wait and fluent wait. So fluent wait is the parent class. WebDriver is a child class. Code is same. Okay, when it comes to two classes, the code will be mostly same internally. right? Technically both works as same, but the syntax that you're going to write is changes, different. Okay, first we're going to explain about WebDriver wait, then we'll go for fluent wait. What is the advantage that we have with respect to the implicit wait? Because normally we can use implicit wait also to find an element, right? So apart from finding the element, what are the different advantages that we have with respect to WebDriver wait or fluent wait? Both comes under explicit wait only. Okay. So what is the explicit wait? Instead of applicable for all the elements, okay, implicit wait and page load timeout, all this is applicable for all the elements and the page loads, right? Now this explicit wait is applicable for only certain elements. Implicit wait is applicable for all the find element statements. So the difference they will ask in interview. Difference between implicit wait and explicit wait. So implicit wait is applicable for all the find element statements that we need to provide once we create the browser instance, right? But explicit wait is only applicable for certain statements, certain elements only. You have to mention for every element if you want to use explicit wait. So we can provide the maximum time here also where it waits for a certain conditions to meet. So what are the conditions that we will check? We are not only waiting for element find out, but we are checking for certain conditions to appear, certain conditions to be true. Okay, so we will see that how to do that. Okay. Now I'll give an example. Let me create a first package. Package already created. Let me create a class. Name it as explicit wait example1, because we need to talk about the WebDriver wait and fluent wait both. Okay. So now let me open a website. If you see this website, right, when we click on this login button, it is opening a new tab, and also it is taking some time to open this particular page. So inside a new tab, right, the new window it is open, and inside I have this element, email ID, password. I want to enter some text in this email address. That is not immediately visible, right? So if you click on login button, it is taking some time, and then immediately visible inside a new tab. Here we need to do two things. One is the window handling we need to do. Once I switch to the tab, again I need to wait for certain elements to appear. Wait until this element is displayed, right? So here I can use implicit wait also, but let us try to do with explicit wait, because we are going to discuss about some conditions also. What are the different conditions available in explicit wait? The same thing, I want to work with explicit wait. So where explicit is applicable for only certain statements, not for all the statements. Let us try to implement this. First, let us try to handle the windows, and then we use with the explicit wait. So now let me copy the same code. Okay. Now what is happening is I'm going to this website. I have one more website also. I'll give you that for assignment. Okay. And practice on that as well. Now I've opened the website. Once I open the website, I need to click on this login button, right? Let me open this. Using the link text, I can click on it. Driver dot find element by dot link text, because that is a anchor tag, because that is a link, starts with anchor tag. Once I click on this, I opened a new window, new tab. So first I need to take the parent and then also child. If it is not a parent, I need to switch to the child. Once I switch to the child window, then I have to identify this element. So what is the code? So first I need to take parent window. So driver dot get window handle. Once I get the parent window, I can click and I can take the parent window. I can take the parent window and I can click because the control is on the first tab only. I'll get the parent window. Anything is fine. Okay, let me do in the same way what we did earlier. I don't want to confuse. Once I take the parent window, I'm clicking on the login link. It got to open a new window. And I want to take all the windows. So that I have to store it in a set of string. That I need to import. Let me import later. First, I'm putting as all windows. So driver dot get window handles. Okay. So this will give us a set of strings. Set I need to import from java.util package. Now I need to iterate all the windows. Each one is a string again. So each time I'm going to put one ID into this particular string. All windows. Okay. So each time parent window also there available, child window also available here. So I'm iterating all windows one by one. So here I get a parent window and child window both. If it is not a parent window, then I have to switch to the child window. There my login page is available. So if the child window is not equal to, okay, sorry. Equals to parent window. Okay. If this window is not equal to parent window, which is nothing but the child window, so then switch to the child window using driver dot switch to dot window of child window. Then once we switch this, I can perform any action once I switch to the child window. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to identify this element because I already switched to this tab. This control is in this tab. Now I want to identify this element using the ID. So driver dot find element by dot ID and keys. I want to send. That's the email ID field, but let me send text only Selenium. Okay, so now I'm switching to the child window. Okay, once I click on login button and I'm switching to the child window, and then I'm trying to perform some action on the child window. So here I'm not waiting for the element. It is taking some time. What is the default time? If you don't provide implicit wait, nothing. If you don't provide anything, so the default time both for explicit wait and implicit. If you don't provide wait at all to find the element, the default time is 0. Within try to immediately it will try to find out. Okay, now it is not visible immediately, this element. Okay, the tab is opening immediately. You're able to switch to here. Switching is fine, but immediately this is not available. We'll get a no such element exception.
In case you are using page load timeout,
It is applicable once I switch to the page load timeout. Okay, but immediately it is happening. So here, I think it is applicable. We can wait. It will wait. 300 seconds is there. Right? Obviously, if you provide it, it will wait for 300 seconds. If you don't, I mean, if you don't provide, otherwise it will wait because you're not getting any issue there, right? So let me run this now. Clicked on the login button. I switched to the tab, but I'm trying to find the element immediately. Okay, this email ID I'm trying to find that is not present. I got a no such element exception. Let me close this. At the 30th line, I got an exception. So what is the 30th line? Here, when I'm trying to find the element. So what exception? Obviously, no such element exception I got. No such element. Here you can use implicit wait also. Around 30 seconds. But here, what is the main disadvantage in implicit wait, right? Implicit wait, you cannot increase the time because that is applicable for all the find element statements. Let's say out of 100 elements are present, 95 elements are opening within 20 seconds only. But some element is there that will not load within 20 seconds. That will take at least 1 minute. Okay, let's say if you provide implicit wait for 20 seconds, it will applicable for all the find element statements. Okay, normally it should load within 20 seconds only. Let's say if element is taking 2 minutes, so let's say 50 elements due to some issue, out of 100 elements, 50 elements are taking 2 minutes to load. In that, performance issue will be there. Lot execution time will increase, and also lot of issues. We keep on waiting for the elements. That should not happen. So implicit wait, obviously we have to give for less time only. So maximum average that we need to take. What is the maximum time all the elements which will load within the time? That time we need to provide in the implicit wait, because that is applicable for all the find element statements. Sometimes you file some elements will not load. Sometimes some elements will take more time. In that case, you can use explicit wait. Okay, for finding the elements. And also apart from that, also explicit is providing some conditions where we can check for certain conditions. We haven't discussed as of now, that we will discuss. Okay, so implicit wait always should be minimum. Explicit wait based on our element, we can provide whatever time we want. Okay, if you give maximum time implicit wait, if the application has issues, it will keep on waiting for the maximum time for all the elements. If our element is not immediately visible. If you give 2 minutes, if 50 elements are taking 2 minutes, 15 to 2, 100 minutes we will wait. Around 1.5 hours without doing anything. That is not a good practice. Okay. So implicit wait always try to give less time, like 20 or 30 seconds. Explicit wait based on your element, you provide 2 minutes or 3 minutes. Only for one element it is applicable. Explicit wait. Now, because we're getting no such element exception here, for in this case, I want to use explicit wait. So how to use explicit wait? Okay. To use explicit wait, which is nothing but first I'm going to discuss about the WebDriver wait. So first we need to create an object of WebDriver wait. Okay. First we need to create an object of WebDriver wait. How to create an object of WebDriver wait? WebDriver wait object. Object how to create object. WebDriver wait. Name I need to give. I'm giving wait is equal to new WebDriver wait. This is how we need to create an object in Java, right? So this is how we need to create an object of WebDriver wait. So now let me import WebDriver wait from the org.openqa.selenium.support.ui. This is from where we have to import the WebDriver wait. And inside this WebDriver wait, we need to provide something else. Okay. Inside this WebDriver wait, we need to provide two things. First one is the driver, right? First one is the driver instance. And the second one is the time that you want to wait for, maximum time that you want to wait. Here I want to wait for, let's say 45 seconds. Because in this element is taking more time, let's say. So I'm getting whatever the time maximum time that I want to wait, I can give. Duration dot of seconds. I want to wait for some 40 seconds or 45 seconds. What is the maximum that I want to wait? Or 30 seconds. Okay. Once I wait for this, so I need to write like this. Once I create a WebDriver wait, use this wait until here we need to put the expected condition. So what is the expected condition? Wait for element to visible. Visibility of element, right? So there are different conditions are available. So you have to put expected conditions dot wait dot until. Inside that small braces, you have to put expected conditions dot. There are different conditions available in explicit wait. Okay, we can wait for alert is present. Sometimes alert not immediately visible, right? You can, before switching to the alert, first we need to wait for the alert. Okay, wait for alert to present. Okay, or else wait for element to be clickable. Sometimes when we click on disabled element, right? If you want to enable that element, you enable the element, but immediately that is not enabled. That is keep on still disabled mode. So you have to wait for an element to be clickable, which is nothing but the enabled mode, right? And also wait for element to be selected. When you click on radio buttons, not immediately they are selected. Wait for element to be selected. You have to wait for certain amount of time so that it will be selected. Okay, wait for frame to present. Sometimes frames are not immediately present. Wait for frame to present. Invisibility of element located. You wait for some element to disappear from the page. Okay, there are different conditions available. You can try it out. So currently my condition is I want to wait for that email field to appear. it is not immediately visible. Once I switch to the tab, immediately that email is not visible. I want to wait for that element to be visible. Okay, presence of element located. I need to use the presence of element located. I want to the presence of that element. I want to wait for that element till it present. So here, what inside what I need to provide? I need to provide the locator of that element. So what is the locator of the element? This is the locator by.id. That's it. Okay. Let me comment this as of now. So I'm waiting for this element to appear. So what is the maximum time that you want to wait? 40 seconds. What is the condition? Currently, I'm using this condition. In explicit way, default, they have created some conditions. Okay, we can use any of these conditions. Okay, so here I want to wait for this element to appear. So this applicable web driver is applicable for certain statements only. Now I want to wait for only this element, not for all the elements. So till 45 seconds, I want to wait for element. What is the condition? Presence of element located. That element is located inside the HTML document or not, kind of presence of element located. So this presence of element located. No. So this until method. So this complete statement wait.until method is giving us a web element. Okay. Once we identify the element, once we identify the element using this presence of element located, this complete statement is giving us a web element. Email. Okay. Let me import web element also from org.openqa.selenium. Once import, this email field is present. So I'm waiting for certain amount of time, right? Within the specified time that is loaded. And I'm able to find, if we successfully find out the element, we get a web element, that particular web element. Because here we're using the by.id, that same email ID. So once it is founded successfully, then we get that same web element. Using the web element, I want to send the text. Okay, let me remove this statement. So this is how I need to write. These two lines are important. We need to create an object of WebDriver. We need to pass the driver and the maximum time that you want to wait, and wait until this element is present. What element to present? This ID we need to provide. By.id, by.export, by.css selector, whatever the locator that you want to provide. I want to wait for this element to be present. And once it is successfully present within the specified time, then we get this particular element found out. Then I'm trying to send some text inside this element. Now let me run this. Now we won't get any no such element exception. Previously we got no such element exception, but we give 40 seconds now. Here I'm trying to wait for 40 seconds. I'm trying to keep on looking for the element. If it is found out, we're able to enter the text. Okay. Clear? Any questions? As of now? Now what I'll give is, I'll give 5 seconds here. Normally we don't give, but let's see the error condition also. Let us say 5 conditions. Within the 5 seconds, this element is present or not. Within 5 seconds, this is present. Let's say 2 seconds. Within 2 seconds, this is present. Not present. This immediately is not, element is not present immediately. So we will not get a web element. Obviously, in this particular, when I'm trying to find an element, here only I get an exception. So we'll see. We'll run this scenario. I give 2 because I want to show you the error condition. Normally we won't give. We give around 40 seconds, 45 seconds based on the element. Okay. Nothing happened. We were not able to enter the text because we got an exception. Where we got an exception? Not here. Just a second. Okay. So here we got an exception, correct? Okay. Now we got here a timeout exception. Okay. So here we didn't get a timeout exception based on the method that we write. Okay, we got an exception here. Here we're trying to wait for the presence of element located. We're waiting for, we got a timeout exception. Exception condition failed, waiting for a presence of element located. So the time, whatever we provide, that is got expired. Timeout exception that we got. Okay, but in implicit wait, we get a no such element exception. There we are trying to find out element, driver.find element. If you're not able to find element using driver.find element, because that is applicable for all the find element statements, we get a no such element exception. Here, based on the condition, we get the exception. Here we give the presence of element located. That is the reason we get in the timeout exception here. Okay. So if you change the condition again, based on the condition, we get another exception. But we get an exception. We are not able to find the element. That element is not present immediately. Okay. Hope everyone clear. Okay. If I give 30 seconds here, obviously it is available around within 5 seconds or 6 seconds, which is immediately visible, and we are going to skip the remaining 25 seconds. Okay, we'll not wait like thread.sleep. Thread.sleep is not at all mandatory now, because you can use either implicit wait. Implicit wait obviously will provide, but in rare conditions, explicit conditions also we provide. Not rare conditions, for some elements, obviously we're going to provide WebDriver wait. So we frequently use this in framework, WebDriver wait. Implicit wait, you put some less time and keep it like that. For all the find element statement is applicable, but here also we, for some elements, we keep WebDriver wait, the maximum time that we want to wait. And how frequently it is going to check. See, if I give 30 seconds in the sense, so after some time, it is going to have to check for this particular condition. After some time, like every frequency, some frequency at some time of frequency, it needs to check for every this particular element. So 30 seconds, if you provide, for every some time, it have to check for the element is present or not. If it is not present, again, it will wait for some time. Again, it is going to check for certain, it is the 30 seconds. Let's say some interval. Within certain interval, it has to check for it some time. That is called as polling time. So within 30 seconds, if I give means, so for after every interval, it is going to keep on checking for the element is present or not, present or not, present or not. So the default polling time is, how much the default polling time? 500 milliseconds. Okay, which is nothing but 0.5 seconds. So what will happen here is, if I give 30 seconds, so first it will wait for the default polling time is 500 seconds. Polling time is, default polling time is 500 milliseconds. Seconds or 0.5 seconds, 0.5 seconds. So when we provide 30 seconds like this, what will happen is, it will sleep for thread.sleep. Normal how exactly work, it will wait, it will sleep. It doesn't matter. Okay, how much time we provide. But the default polling time, if it's providing 500 milliseconds, so within 30 seconds, first 500 milliseconds, it will try to sleep. Once the completion of 500 milliseconds, which is nothing but half second, it is going to check for this particular condition. Okay, if it is not present, again, it is going to wait for another 500 milliseconds. And it will check again at the 1 second, whether this condition is, this element is present or not. Presence of element located. Again, it is going, if it is not present, again, it is checked at 1.5 seconds. Okay, if it is not present, again, it checked at 2 seconds. Okay, similarly, in the intervals, specific intervals, it will keep on checking for this element. Okay, let's say the element is found out at 4.5 seconds. Okay, this element is loaded. The new tab, which is loaded completely, this login page is visible. Inside this element is also present at 4.5 seconds. Then we are going to skip the remaining seconds, which is nothing but 25.5 seconds we are skipping, because we have provided 30 seconds. The remaining time, whatever the time that we have, that we are going to skip. Okay, so in some frequencies, we are going to keep on checking for the element. Okay, WebDriver wait, keep on checking for the element. That is called as polling time. The default polling time is 500 milliseconds. We can override this polling time also. Okay, how frequently you want to check for this element? You want to check for this condition. Okay, I can change this polling time. I need to write the statements. Again, I need to create an object. Let me comment this code first. The same WebDriver wait, I can use this. Okay, I need to use WebDriver which has 3 parameters. First one is the driver. Second one is the maximum time that you want to wait. And the third one is the polling frequency. At what frequency you want to check. Currently, I'm checking within 500 milliseconds. The default is 500 if you don't provide. Right? Now I want to check at every second. Now, how many times that we're going to check? The element is not found out, let's say. Okay, within the maximum time. How many times we are checking for the element here? 30 times. If the element is, if we don't provide this statement we are using, if the element is not found within 30 seconds, how many times we are checking? 60 times, 30 into 2. Every half a second we are checking for the element. This particular condition is met or not. Okay, here I have overridden that polling time for 1 second. So maximum 30 seconds, and every 1 second I will sleep for 1 second. At 1 second is completed, I'll check for this condition. If the element is not present, again I'm going to wait for 1 more second. After 2 seconds, I'm going to check for 1 more. Again I'll sleep for 1 second. I'll check for 3 seconds. At some point, the element is present. So let's say at 6 seconds, the element is present. Now, so after 6 seconds is completed, this element is found out. Okay, then we are going to skip the remaining seconds and we're going for the next immediate statement. So this is called as polling time. So at certain frequencies, the WebDriver is going to keep on checking for the elements to appear. Okay, that is called as polling time. The default one is 500 milliseconds or 0.5 seconds that we can override. Okay. Any questions? The default polling time for implicit wait also 500 milliseconds. Even though if you provide 20 seconds for 500 milliseconds, every find element statement has to find the element, right? So even there also, if it is founded within the specified time, we are skipping the remaining seconds because in certain intervals we keep on checking. At some point, we are able to find the element. Remaining time we are skipping. Clear? Any questions?
Clear.
Okay. So we'll continue tomorrow. The remaining synchronization concept we'll try to complete tomorrow. Okay, because we are going to discuss a lot more things in explicit wait, and then in explicit wait we are going to discuss about fluent wait also. Currently, as of now, we have discussed only WebDriver wait. Okay, few more things we need to discuss about WebDriver wait and fluent wait that we'll discuss tomorrow. Okay, just practice and let me know if you have any questions. Watch the video again. If you have any questions, ask me. Okay, clear?
Okay, sir.
Okay, right. Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.